Chapter 5 Three Pivots. During his teenage years, my son Spencer took an interest in playing tennis, and even though he was a great player, he was intent on improving his game and eager to follow his coach's instructions. One day, his coach gave him some great advice. Spencer, you're a good player, but you've learned some habits that are holding you back. To keep improving, you must unlearn some things and relearn how to do them correctly. You can keep working harder, but you need to work smarter. If we are to build a church on the 3 C's, we must make 3 basic shifts or pivots from pastor-centric to people-centric, from building-focused to people-focused, and from attractional to incarnational. First, let's talk about pivoting from pastor-centric to people-centric. One of my good friends is a recovering church planter. As we met for lunch one day, he told me about his harrowing experience of launching a new church. He spoke of the pressure of finding and paying for a venue, and then there was the weekly setup and tear down, finding volunteers, meeting the financial demands, and the tremendous bearing on his family. There was the advertising launch date and the Sunday following the launch date, not to mention the pervasive emotional and spiritual roller coaster ride. It left him feeling depleted and inadequate. My friend is highly motivated. He's a hard worker, a talented communicator, and a gifted musician with a warm personality. However, he had learned he was not the LeBron James of church planting. Simply put, the pastor cannot be the center of the church. He cannot be the product that the church offers. Nor can a program, a great band, or a dynamic youth ministry. David Watson contends, in place of the doctrine of the priesthood of all believers, we now see a strengthening of the priesthood of the pastor only. Somehow, all the ministry of the church has been focused on one position, even though the Bible is clear that there are multiple leadership roles, and the role of the pastor is not the greatest of all these roles, but one among many leadership roles in the church, both local and global. In 2013, Chris Anderson, a former professional goalkeeper turned soccer statistics guru, and behavioral analyst David Sally published The Numbers Game: Why Everything You Know About Soccer is Wrong. I first heard about this book from Brian Sanders, who was giving a presentation on microchurches in an exponential conference. It's a fascinating read, even if you know little about the game. Anderson and Sally wanted to discover how a soccer team could use math and statistics to improve their chances of winning. Did you know that the average professional football team has possession of the ball between 11 and 13 times per game? In basketball, the turnovers and possessions are much higher, between 180 and 200 combined turnovers, or 91 to 100 possessions. In soccer, there will be around 380 turnovers per game. This means the average player runs over 6 miles and touches the ball for under 2 seconds each time it is in his possession. Anderson and Sally contend that soccer and football or basketball use 2 different winning strategies. Since a soccer team is no better than its weakest link, the primary concern is that every player keeps improving their game. This is true for football and basketball as well. However, the key to winning in a football or basketball game can hinge on drafting 1 or 2 great players. What coaches truly seek are 1 or 2 superstars like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Peyton Manning, or Tom Brady. A church's strength is found in what Martin Luther understood as the priesthood of all believers. As we invest more and more of our energy into helping each person become a disciple maker, multiplication becomes exponential. So now let's talk about the next pivot to move from building to people. Back in the 1990s, I sat in a staff meeting at Shepherd Church in Columbus, Ohio, and listened to a presentation designed to help the church grow to the next level. A prominent church consultant made what I would like to call the build it and they will come pitch. He advised us to build a building to meet current ministry needs and accommodate explosive future growth. To do so would mean we would need to raise lots of money and even go into debt because if you build it, they will come. An accommodating building, outstanding leadership, and a heart for missions was the perfect recipe for success. The church grew from 300 to over 500 in just a few years. And to this day, Shepherd is a strong and vibrant church. Unfortunately, Shepherd Church has become the exception. Scattered across America are large church buildings with just a handful of people struggling to keep the lights on. Recent studies reveal that across the board, 30 to 70% of the people have left the building. David Watson said, if you believe in only one brand of church, or if you're familiar with only a few different brands of church and allow these tool structures to determine your tactics, then you'll fail more often than you succeed in disciple making. Success will be found in creative and intentional diversity of tactics and churches. If we could launch churches without investing heavily in a venue, hiring a superstar pastor and a large staff, or sustaining elaborate programs, we may find ourselves at a distinct advantage. We could then invest the bulk of our resources into raising followers of Christ who are fully engaged in raising followers of Christ. The new venue becomes a living room or a coffee shop. Worship is simplified and the burden of leadership is transferred to many gifted people who are devoted disciple makers. Church becomes a simple life-on-life experience. Worship, prayer, studying the Word, and reaching others for Christ. Every believer, not just the pastor, is a disciple maker. So what do we mean by attractional versus incarnational? Shifting from attractional to incarnational means moving from marketing to marketplace and from professional to incarnational. Alan Hirsch would say from program development to people development. From convincing people that we have an excellent product to raising individuals who can enter the marketplace and live like Christ. Life on life, taking Christ with us to the places we live, work, and play. Reggie McNeil says we need to shift from studying Jesus and all things spiritual in an environment protected from the world to following Jesus into the world to join him in his redemptive mission. Going to church on Sunday mornings has been the traditional Christian experience. Church, as we understand it today, happens once or twice a week and is primarily a passive event where most people come to observe. They may participate by singing along, but generally they are there as consumers. I contend we are experiencing a decline in church attendance because people have lost their appetite for being fatter and long to become fitter. So shifting from professional to incarnational means we shift our weight from proclamation to personal relationship. It means we rearrange the chairs in the room. We no longer sit in rows and listen to what the preacher has to say. We sit in circles in discovery together. Doing so moves the personal engagement needle from one or two to full participation, and discipleship and maturity in Christ then take place exponentially.